I'm Pam, a mother, runner, business owner, and the host of the I Work For You podcast. This podcast shares stories from the world of entrepreneurship because starting a business doesn't have to feel like a far-off dream, and running one shouldn't feel like a nightmare.
Mishje Cooper, mother of two, project manager, Entrepreneur of the Year finalist in 2016, Pan-African Award winner 2019. And with confidence, she states, "When I know what I want, I make a plan to get it." Owner of two preschools, co-owner of Dove's Funeral Home in Paarl, and working full-time for a UK-based company. Mishje, how do you get this all into your day?
My day is completely hectic. It starts very early in the morning and it finishes very late in the evening. But I won't have it any other way. So I start off, hopefully I have time for some exercise in the morning. Then I get the kids ready for school, go drop them off, come back, focus on my schools, making sure that the staff know what they need to do, answer all their questions and emails. Then I start with my UK job. I'll work UK hours. When I'm done with that, I will touch base in between the day quickly with Doves, making sure that everything is fine there with my partner. And then at the end of the day, I will quickly touch base with the schools again. Thereafter, I will go into the back in home and I will then spend some time with the family. And most probably, I'll have to catch up on some emails again. That's my day.
Wow, juggling so many balls. That is so impressive. So then the next question is, where did this entrepreneurial journey start?
Well, it started when I was around about 10 years old, when I went to my dad and I said to him that I wanted to earn my own money. I've always had what I needed. My parents would always give me what I needed, but I wanted a little bit more. I wanted extra things. And I said to him I wanted to earn my own money. He and myself ended up spending some time together thinking of what I can do to earn my own money. And we ended up finding a candy floss machine and I started selling candy floss. But it wasn't just that easy. I had to go and speak to my principal at school to ask him whether I could go and sell the candy floss during break time. Entrepreneurial spirits weren't big in that time. We're talking about, what's it now, about 20, 30 odd years ago. And he ended up, luckily for me, he was such a good principal. And he said, absolutely no problem. A break is yours. You can sell the candy floss every Friday. So the first Friday, my mom came and dropped the candy floss that I worked very hard up until early hours in the morning, Thursday evening, to have everything ready. And she came and dropped it off for me. And before break even, the bell even went, I was sold out. And from there, every Friday, I would sell my candy floss. And every Saturday, I would stand in front of the shopping mall to sell my candy floss. That is where I started earning my own money. And I can still recall buying my very first plane ticket with my own money. I wanted to come and visit. I've never been on a plane ticket. So I bought a plane ticket to Cape Town to visit my granny. And thank goodness for an absolutely wonderful mom, because I wanted to, as a 10-year-old at that stage, didn't realize money is money. And I wanted to use my own money, but meaning my own money, 1 and 2 rand coins to go and pay for my plane ticket. That was 165 rand in coins. If it was me, my child would not be going to pay for a plane ticket in 1 and 2 rand coins. I would have changed it for notes. But luckily for my mom's sake, because up until today, I can recall my bank little bag with my 1 and 2 rand coins. That is where I started my entrepreneurial skills.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. I'm so impressed with the fact that you actually started with candy floss. I'll never look at candy floss the same way again. And that your parents supported that process. I mean, to actually nurture entrepreneurial spirit like that is absolutely impressive. So where did you go from there? So obviously you had a dream of what you wanted to be when you were a little girl. How did it go from being a 10-year-old candy floss maker, queen? What next?
So my dream has always been to become a pediatrician, But when I realized the amount of years that you need to study to become a pediatrician, I just didn't even think of entering that way. So straight after school, I went overseas to America and I au paired. So for 2 years, I was overseas, America. I went to UK. In the UK, I did the rock bottom jobs, like they say. I did some potato grading, where I would stand in the rain grading potatoes, working 2 full months, 12 hours, 7 days a week, grading potatoes. But then the following 2 months, I would go travel. So for 2 years, I really traveled the world, worked in hotels, being a receptionist. I cleaned bathrooms, cleaned rooms, were out there. But I managed to save up money, and I ended up seeing the world 2 years straight after that. When I returned to South Africa, my uncle was in the motor industry, and I asked him, I needed a car, so can you please look out for a car for me? I will pay it with the money that I've saved. He then came back to me and said to me, what am I going to do? And I said, I have no idea. I'll see when I get here, but I need a car. So he said to me, how about a job with a car? And that's how I landed up in the motor industry, just purely because I needed a car. So up until today, my brother still jokes and laughs with me, because when I started selling cars, I've never really sold anything except my candy floss. And what I knew about cars was that they were red and white and they had seats. That's about it. And I loved convertibles. So I always wanted a white car with no roof and leather seats. That's it. But I had to start selling cars. So what I've then learned was, being in a male-dominant industry, in order to actually get somewhere, I needed to learn. I needed to actually realize a car has got an engine, and that the engine has got certain parts to it. And that is what I ended up for the first 2 or 3 months, basically just learning what a car is. And it is so vitally important to make sure that what you sell, you know your competitors, you know what it is, how it is. And purely because I put the effort and time in, I managed to outsell my peers, my competitors, and I grew very fast in the motor industry.
Wow, that is so impressive.
I think within a year, I was promoted to sales manager, having some salespeople reporting to me. And at that stage, I think I was 22, 23 years old, having men reporting to me having to tell them what to do, how to do it at such a young age was very difficult. Time and time again, I was in tears behind the scenes saying, I can't do this. And I've got my mentors behind the scenes say, don't worry, you can do it. Just stand your ground. But the most important is know what you're talking about. Because if you know what you're talking about, they can't really turn around questioning what you are saying. So I worked in the motor industry for quite some time there. I'm trying to think. In between, I owned my entrepreneurial skills, my entrepreneurial flair that I had never went away. So I ended up starting a florist in Somerset West. That I had for about 6 months. I didn't know anything about flowers. All I know is I loved receiving flowers on Valentine's Day and so on. Didn't know anything about flowers, had to go and learn and study flowers, what they are, what's the season and so on. But what I've also learned is you can sell anything. You need to surround yourself with people that know that industry. If you can employ people that are more knowledgeable than what you are, it makes your life so much easier. I can concentrate on the business aspect, but they can concentrate on what we are actually selling in that industry.
I'm absolutely in awe. It actually amazes me how you've gone from not knowing anything about cars and florists, etc., etc. So from selling cars, you sold flowers, and you said you only had the florist for 6 months. So yes. What happened then?
So the florist I actually had while I was still in the motor industry. So I had a double job. I would, in the mornings before going into the office, I would stop at the florist, making sure everything is done, sorted. Weekends, go and fetch everything, drop it off. Afternoons, after I clock off from the work, I would go into the shop, speak to my florist, and so on. During that period, I then had my first child, and it just became too much, and that's why I sold the florist. And then I was basically selling in the motor industry for the time that I had my first and then my second son. And then I decided, no, I'm sorry, raising my kids, not seeing them, the hours that I worked in the motor industry was exceptionally long. It was weekend work. In the evenings, there was functions. Because I was a manager over 3 franchises, I had some consecutive evenings that I had to go and attend meetings from every single franchise. So it just became too much. So I decided I'm going to venture into my own venture yet again. And I bought a corner cafe in Parklands. Epic fail, complete epic fail. Lost quite a bit of money in that one. However, I would not change 1 second of it. The valuable lessons that I've learned in having a corner cafe, like they say, is it's mind-boggling. The money that I wasted or that I lost, I see as a learning experience. Instead of sitting in a classroom, people teaching you what is cash flow, how to not employ somebody when you are dealing with cash, all of those things is what I've learned firsthand having that cafe, knowing that your location is extremely important. There's no use having one that is right next to Pick and Pay. There's no ways that I can compete with a Pick and Pay. So it's those type of experiences that you cannot, it's valuable experience. Also the hours. I stopped working in the motor industry because I wanted to spend time with my kids. However, having a 24 hours, it's worse. So having to make sure that your hours are, operating hours are vitally important when you've got a cafe. At the end of the day, when you're competing against Pick and Pay, your hours are predominantly what is going to sell the goods that you've got in there. Therefore, more hours. You can't have anybody behind the till because it's a cash business. You've got to be there. I can recall one day when we had a friend's wedding where I couldn't go. I just had to physically be behind the till, or I had to close the shop for the day. So that I think we had about for a year and a half. And at the end of the day, I said, that's it. I don't care how I'm closing those doors. I will get anybody to take the lease over as long as I can. I don't care if I lose 1 more cent. I just need to get out of this business. And there is where I've learned that whatever you do, you've got to have a passion for what you do. That year and a half, every second of that year and a half, I hated with a passion. But shortly after that, purely because I had to find something else, I had to earn some money to support my kids. I found my passion, and that was when I bought my first preschool in Parklands.
Wow. And I am exceptionally impressed with the fact that you've found that failure and you've turned it into learnings. And I think that so many people forget that failure is not failure. Failure is just an opportunity to learn. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. So then you bought the preschool and you say that this is your passion. You're going to have to explain that more. Obviously, from wanting to be the pediatrician, not having to study, now you've got a whole school full of children that you can have fun with.
So my school started, I bought a school over, first and foremost, my kids went into a very small preschool around the corner. At that stage, I didn't have the money. My mom paid for the kids to go to a small preschool. And I started speaking. I had a mentor and I was working through with this mentor. What am I going to do? Why am I here? The questions that you start asking once you become a mother, why, how, where, when, time, all of those questions that naturally just evolve. So what happened is I started working through with him just what I need to do. And he gave me the most valuable advice. He said to me the one evening, go and pour yourself a glass of wine, just you, close yourself in your room and start looking through your photo albums, because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do business. I knew I wanted to earn money, but I didn't know what to do. So he said, pour your glass, a glass of wine, go into your room, take all your photo albums out and just start pasting through it. And he says, what happens is God has put some love and passion in you, in your heart. And at the end of the day, because we grow up, because we start realizing what earns money, what doesn't, we get influenced by friends, family, nature, all those things. What happens is we start losing our passion, and we just need to go and find our passion again. So go paste through your albums and see what you loved as a child. And when I started going through the albums, I realized that every second, every third photo I had was a baby in my arms, a child. And I completely forgot about that. But as I went through there, I could recall I was in, I think it was sub A at that stage, was it 7 years old. I had mom, Esther and Hilgard was the two little girls' names. I'll still remember it. And she would drop the little baby with me at that stage. She was 18 months old. I was 7 years old, and I would look after her while she would go do shopping or something. Now, if I think back, if I had to leave my kids with a 7-year-old, I don't think so. But the mom left her 18-month-old baby with me. And when she went into hospital to have the second child, the dad would drop, luckily for me, it was over school holidays, and the dad would drop the child off with me the entire day. I would look after her while the mom was in hospital for those 3 days. And that was the first baby that I can recall looking after her. And as I paged through, I can remember my final biology exam in matric. One of the ladies in our church had twins, and I was dying to go and help her. But it was in my final year of matric. And I said, that's it. I'm packing my bags. I am packing all my study material, and I'm going to go and help her. And while the baby was sleeping, I would study for my biology exam, final exam coming up. When they awake, I would run, I would do what I needed to do, and I would come back. So as I started going through my photo albums, I realized I absolutely love kids. And that is how we ended up saying, well, then best you start looking into owning a preschool. And that's when I started my investigation. I think it was about 3 weeks afterwards, I went and spoke to the owner of my kids' preschool. I had coffee with her, and I said to her, this might be a strange question, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to just ask it outright. I said, how do I start a school? And she then gave me some pointers, some ideas, some regulations, and so forth. And the following morning when I dropped the kids off, she says, how about buying my school? And that was in October, and the 1st of November, I owned the preschool. So within 4 weeks, I was the owner. And I still recall November, December starting, one of the schools around the corner in Parklands, the lady phoned me, very, very nice lady. And I don't even know whether she can remember that, but she called me, we had a discussion. She says she can heard that I've opened the school, and if she can help me, by all means. And that was the first invitation, and I think she might have regretted it, because from there I was at her every second day asking her to help me. And about a month later, she said to me, I've told my friends that you've opened a school, but you really don't know anything about running a school. And I can still recall loving it, because she was quite right. I didn't know, but I was not scared asking advice, guidance, suggestions. I might not have taken what they suggested, but I ended up becoming friends with her. And here I am. I think it's now 11 years down the line, where I've got the 2 branches, about 350 kids between the 2 branches. Subsequently, since then, I've had 4 different premises. So as I outgrow the one premises, I would move into a new one. I would then keep running that one, close that one down, find another one, it doesn't work, I close it, I open another one. So yeah, so as it stands now, 2 premises with 350 kids.
Wow, what a story. And just to hear how you've actually evolved and how you've gone from just sort of bouncing around to wherever to putting in the effort to find out what your passion is and how to find that passion. I think that's such a brilliant idea. So obviously having a mentor is very important to your process.
Highly, highly, highly recommended. Up until now, I've got a business coach that I meet once a week with. I've had probably about 3 or 4 in my career. You do outgrow your mentor, or not necessarily your mentor, your business coach, because each business coach brings different values at different stages in your life. So I had one that I think I had it for about 5 years. And then I moved on to a new business coach currently. And it is just so incredibly important to have somebody that you can bounce ideas from. They keep you in line. They can very quickly say to you, because they get to know you. So they'll very quickly turn around and say to you, oh, no, you are now completely offline here, or this is not what you should do, or how about looking at something? Or as you grow, sometimes you get lazy, and you need somebody to say to you, do you know what? You have now stagnated for the last 2 or 3 years. Or do you know what? Just let's do your wheel-life balance again, because they can see that something is not in balance. And sometimes you can't see. You need somebody objective just to keep an eye on your life personally and steer you in the right direction. But then also just to say to you, do you know what? I think it's time to take a chance, but let's calculate the risk of taking a chance. It might work, it might not work. So very, very important to have somebody that can help steer, guide you, and you can just bounce some ideas off.
That's fantastic. And then what about boundaries? Because I mean, obviously if you're having the ideas and that kind of thing, what are your boundaries and how did you develop boundaries, and how, especially from working for yourself, personal life, all that sort of thing?
Boundaries are very important because you can go out of sync very quickly. So being an entrepreneur, you need to know, I did it because I want to spend time with my family and I wanted some me time. Being an entrepreneur is completely the opposite. If you work for somebody, you work your 8 to 5, you can close your laptop. If you didn't get your job, so be it. When you're an entrepreneur and you've got your own company, there is no closing a laptop if you haven't responded to somebody, if you haven't sent out the invoices, if you haven't paid your employees. You need to do that. So your hours that you put in is a lot of hours. However, that said, once you are in a phase where you have worked hard, hours after hours, but now you've set up everything correctly, you've got some time for yourself, some time for your family going forward. When you've got a new business, you need to know that you're going to spend quite a bit of hours setting up the business, but the reward that you get at the end is you can't describe it to anybody. However, it is very important to put some boundaries in place to say, I will work X amount of hours, Monday to Friday, but weekends is there for my friends and for my family, my me time. You need to have some relaxing time. They always say if you've got a whole list of things to do, by the end of the day, you'll get it done. But if you've got 2 things on your list, by the end of the day, none of that is done. And that is so important. So you've got to make time to go and recuperate, recharge, just get a balance in your life. Putting those boundaries in to say, these are the hours that I'm not going to work. Doesn't matter what it is, I'll pick it up. Nothing is going to happen. Nobody's going to die if I don't do the invoicing today. But my kids are going to, they are going to suffer if I don't spend time with them. So it's very, very important to put the boundaries in place when you are an entrepreneur.
Excellent. Okay, and then I have to ask you the next question, which is what about your goals? Because now you know what it is you're doing and you're working really hard and you have your boundaries. What goals do you set? Because obviously having a business coach helps you with that as well and pushes you when you get lazy. But how often do you set goals? How often do you focus on achieving them?
Yeah. I've got annually, I set my goals. If you go and do some research and some studies regarding goals, people that set goals generally get to their goals. However, people that don't set goals never really achieve anything. I set annual goals for myself. One of my biggest goals that I've currently got on my list is I would love to complete my MBA. That has been on my goal list probably for 5 years. The problem with sitting is now you've got to bring your boundaries in place as well. If I do what I'm doing currently and study my MBA, my poor kids are never going to see me. So you've got to also set realistic goals. So one of my goals currently is still to do my MBA. However, it is a 5-year project. And I will probably do it when my kids are finished and out of the house. I don't need to do it. It's just a personal goal that I would love to do is my MBA. And then I've got smaller goals where you would say I would like X amount of money in the bank. I want to be financially free. Those type of goals, obviously your SMART goals with tangible, smart setup when you do your goals, not like I've just said, reach something when. But very important to actually just read it. There's no use you having it somewhere written down. So I've got a reminder once a week that actually pops up on my computer saying read goals. And just by that, having that, I read my goals. And funny enough, if you go back year on year, at this stage, I have probably reached about 80% of my goals that I have set for myself. I might not necessarily always have reached it in the time frame I've set for myself, but I've managed to reach it eventually.
That's fantastic. And it's lovely to hear. I mean, we all, as you say, you go and you study the goals and you always hear about people telling you how to do it. And I think that this is why this podcast is so important to me, is that you hear people doing the very things that they're told to do and it works. So 80% of your goals over the last couple of years is fantastic. Well done. I'm impressed. I'm going to have to go right and review my goals now. So, advice. If you could give anyone that wanted to start a new business, what advice would you give them?
Follow your passion. That is one of the most important things, is to do whatever you do, you've got to follow your passion. If you don't, you can make money from anything. You can earn a living from doing absolutely anything. But we work majority of our day, we are spent working. Majority of our day, we're spending earning our money. And if you're going to do something that you don't love or have a passion for, it's going to be a dread. Mornings when I get up and I'm enthusiastic and I want to go. And I don't have a problem working the hours I'm working because I'm absolutely living my dream and my passion. Looking after the kids. If I've got a bad day, all I do is I just go and spend a couple of hours upstairs with the baby classroom and I'm ready for the next month. So find your passion and make a business around that.
Wow. That sounds so easy for so many people. It's not that easy, I'm sure. And then what terrifies you right now about running your business? What terrifies you most?
It's always been my staff, that I can't pay my staff. That's always been one of the biggest things. That something happens and I can't pay my accounts. So one of my goals has always been to make sure that I've got enough money in the bank saved up from a business point of view that I will never have a problem paying my staff. And that's exactly what happened a year ago when COVID hit. And it ended up being that the schools had to close, meaning that there was no income, meaning my staff didn't have. I managed to pay them what was due to them. And going forward, we're now back to where we were. The staff that we had, they all were I was able to pay them all the salaries that was due to them. So that's always been one of my biggest things, because they give a lot to the company. I don't ever want to sit back and say, I don't have money, I can't pay what is due. So making sure that we've actually got enough in order to do and to pay my staff.
That's fantastic, Misha. Well done. And I'm a believer that your staff kind of make you successful. And without good staff, you've got to look after them. So that's amazing. And then I'm not going to even ask you this, but I'm going to have to. And what do you love most about your business other than the kids?
I would say currently the time. So it's the flexibility that I've got. As an entrepreneur, I can work my own hours, when, how. If my kids have got a sporting event, if they've got a breakfast, I can go and attend to them. I can be with them. If I get a phone call to say that they're sick, I can immediately drop everything I'm doing and I can go and spend time with them. If I would like a long weekend, I can either come back a bit later or leave a bit earlier because I've got good staff. So the flexibility of being an entrepreneur is absolutely, I think, the best. However, it's not always been like you've got to work to get to that. But at the same time, even in the beginning, if my son had a rugby or a cricket match, I could do that because I could work until 2, 3, 4 in the morning to get everything that I missed up and done in order for the following day. It's not an 8 to 5 where I had to ask permission to go and leave. So yeah, definitely the flexibility.
Excellent. And then would you ever go back to employment?
I prefer being an entrepreneur. So yeah, it's definitely much easier, much nicer, harder work. I think being employed is definitely slightly easier, but the flexibility is not there. So it all depends on what you want in life. Also, the unknown is also there as an entrepreneur. I would always pay my staff before I pay myself. So if there's been a bad month, my staff would get their salary, but I only get half or so on. So being employed is nice because you don't have that stress of is there enough money? Do I have enough income in order to pay the staff? But you don't have the flexibility. So you've got to decide for yourself what is more important in your time when you are in life.
Excellent. And then these awards that you've won, I mean, the fact that you got Entrepreneur of the Year finalist in 2016, and then the Pan-African Award, and you were a winner for the country winner in education and training category. Please explain that to me. It's so interesting.
Again, that's where my mentor comes in, or my business coach. At that stage, they kept on pushing me for 2 years. I didn't want to enter. And if it wasn't for my business coach that kept on pushing me, I would not have entered for either of them. So it is nice. The whole process. I absolutely love the process. Getting to talk to like-minded people, other entrepreneurs, listen to their stories, how they failed, how they succeeded. It just gives you that little bit more of a push to actually do something else. And that's where I was in my career, because the business really couldn't grow anymore. I was at full capacity with my schools. I didn't really know where to go, what to do. I had enough time. My real-life balance was completely out of sync because a couple of years prior to that, I only worked. I had no personal life because I was working so hard. Then it's the other way around, where my business was very nice and I didn't need to go into work because I had excellent, and I still have excellent staff running the school for me. So I started riding my horse. And all I wanted to do was ride a horse, and I didn't actually want to work anymore. And if you don't do any extra, you're actually stagnating and you're going backwards. So for about 2 or 3 years, I've been looking at what is next, what else can I do? Business, I've always loved business, and I've loved the service industry. And with these awards that I won, just spending some time with other entrepreneurs, I realized, you know what, I'm not done just riding my horse. I think it's time to now find another business. And that's where I started looking, and I ended up going into partnership with 2 other people, and we bought the funeral home. So yeah, that's how I got to buying that.
Wow. So you definitely are growing and developing every step of the way. Well, there you go. So any last thoughts? whether it's advice, whether it's anything that you feel that you need to let the world know from Mishje Cooper?
Yeah. That question often comes up, and there's always so many things that you want to say to people. However, being an entrepreneur is absolutely awesome. I absolutely love it. And I think the biggest problem is fear. People are so scared of taking a chance, taking a risk there. And believe me, a lot of people will always look and say, you've achieved what you set out to achieve. And yes, I did. But it didn't come without failure. It didn't come without fear. It didn't come without very hard work behind the scenes. So as long as you are willing to put in long hours, hard work to get to what you want in a personal capacity, don't be scared and just do it. Just try it out. If you fail, get up and try again. So yeah.
I love that. Excellent. And people can get a hold of Mishje at ZooZooLand website or on the email, which we'll put in the links below. And Mishje, thank you so much for joining us today. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Pam. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this interview and that you feel inspired to take your business to the next level. Please do subscribe for more, connect with me and the community online at I Work For Me, and head over to the website for interesting reads and resources. If you like, you can support the team by buying them a coffee. Until next time, keep up the grind.